Hahaha, let your group of imperial hawks and dogs shamelessly mobilize hundreds of star-rated powerhouses to surround and kill me. I am now reborn back in my youth, and instead of following the old path, I am stepping onto a new track, turning your roots into ashes and raising them. See if you dare to pursue me. Keywords of the novel. Rebirth of the Pinnacle of Interstellar Scenery without pop-ups. Rebirth of the Pinnacle of Interstellar Scenery TXT Complete Collection Download. Rebirth of the Pinnacle of Interstellar Scenery Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. Decision Making. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Decision Making. Before being wanted by the court, Linhezhuang had also been to many places, so he naturally understood how important his identity and level were in the Daheng dynasty. Especially those with official positions are called heavenly beings. But at that time, I was confident in my strength and felt that there was no place in the world where I couldn't go. I don't care about these at all. Those local tyrants and evil gentry are arrogant and domineering, like local emperors on their own territory. But who dares to show their teeth to the officials? When encountering high-ranking officials, simply kneel down on the ground and use them at will. Sending wives and daughters as gifts not only does not feel humiliated, but also considers it an honor. And those hawks and dogs, they are so powerful that they cannot obey the orders of officials. They are ferocious towards themselves as common people, bullying them recklessly when they are unhappy, but when faced with officials, they bow down like dogs. Linhezhuang's eyes lit up as he thought, yes, why do I have to follow the old path? I can become a high-ranking official and make good use of these hawks and dogs. When I think about it, I will be making things difficult for these hawks and dogs. Although they may not be happy in their hearts, they must show a flattering expression on their faces, with a submissive attitude. Isn't this more soothing than killing them in advance? That's right. That's it. It's decided. I want to become an official. I want to become a high-ranking official. Linhezhuang shouted excitedly. Suddenly, Linhezhuang froze. He slapped himself twice and growled with a grim expression, damn it. Am I losing my mind and going crazy? How could I be those corrupt officials in the Daheng dynasty who are reckless and scraping 3 feet of the ground? I wonder if the entire Daheng dynasty's officials are almost garbage. What's wrong with me? Sit down and cover your head, carefully sensing your own spirit. Just now, he realized that his mentality was unstable. It's funny to say that after fighting with the Daheng dynasty for nearly 100 years, I actually want to become a courtier of the Daheng dynasty. Even if my brain is teasing, it wouldn't be like this. It is only natural for me to think that I am evil and that the great Heng dynasty is just after my rebirth. But at the beginning, I will be wanted, obviously because I have been wronged. If it weren't for my strong strength, I would have been executed long ago with the reputation of being a criminal, and my bones would have been burned to ashes. The 200 years of travel before being wanted were not without seeing the corruption and darkness of the Daheng dynasty. It was just that at that time, I thought I was in the world of martial arts, and that the affairs of the court and the people had nothing to do with me. After hanging a wanted warrant, especially after being ordered to be executed, I started to act recklessly, killing corrupt officials and local tyrants. Are the cheers obtained as a result fake? It is precisely because of the cheers, the grateful and respectful gazes that I have not lost myself in the nearly century-long battle, and have not become a true demon. How come when I am reborn now, everything starts over again, and there are countless promising futures, I actually want to become an official? As an official of the corrupt and hopeless Daheng dynasty. You really have a cute mind. The reason for this may be the aftermath of the fusion of an old soul and a young soul. After all, my young soul has no insight at all. I simply believe that the officials of the Daheng dynasty are heavenly beings, worthy of admiration and pursuit. But without thinking about it, I just have a father who doesn't have to sell himself as a slave and works hard to build this stable house as a support. They also live in a remote administrative star and economically developed city. If you really want to change cities or live in the countryside, you will definitely know in advance what the dark and corrupt era is like. I didn't expect that my soul, which has been around for over 300 years, would be influenced by a tender and childish soul that has been around for more than 10 years. I think it's because both souls are their own, without any sense of defense. So, it would be better for him to start his own business and rebuild a new era by serving as an official in the Daheng dynasty and striving to prolong its existence. Thinking of this, Lei Yundong's heart suddenly trembled and his mind suddenly became clear. Yes, since I can't stand this corrupt and hopeless Daheng dynasty, why don't I establish a new era that suits my heart? Not only can I clean up those disgusting things, but I can also pout and dust those hawk dogs' roots. This is the best revenge method. Lei Yundong became excited and said, as for whether it's possible to succeed. In terms of strength, I won't go into detail. I am a solitary existence that has been fighting against the hawks and dogs of the entire Daheng dynasty for nearly 100 years. And it is still an existence that has been surrounded and killed by hundreds of constant star-level powerhouses for decades, and ultimately exhausted to death. If I had known the effect of gathering crowds early on, formed my own power early on, and cultivated and taught my own manpower. Eagle dogs surrounding me. I should have turned around and surrounded them. As for the manpower, hahaha. Over the course of 300 years, I know all the great talents of the entire Daheng dynasty who were renowned for their abilities such as integrity, loyalty, extraordinary talent, integrity, and so on. Although many have not been born yet, it doesn't matter, I can wait. Then when they reach a certain level of growth, preferably before taking the imperial examination or being brainwashed, lure them over directly. All the talents of the Daheng dynasty for the next 300 years will fall into my hands. What manpower do I lack? Lei Yundong became more and more excited as he spoke, because he realized that with a memory of the next 300 years, he was like having a super cheat device. I know all the celebrities, big news and events, and even the things that interest me in the next 300 years. With such foresight, if we can't handle this corrupt and hopeless Daheng dynasty, why don't we just buy a piece of tofu and hit our heads to death? Don't embarrass yourself in this world. Lei Yundong, who has made life decisions and is preparing to embark on a new track in life, truly feels the smoothness of his whole body and mind. His originally weak body seems to be full of energy. No, it's really full of energy. Lei Yundong felt his body in shock. He quickly checked and his rich experience immediately made him understand that this was because his mind and body were unobstructed, allowing his spiritual power to show a trace of its effect on his whole body. Just a trace of spiritual strength, like washing essence and marrow, washed my weak body once. If my body had been slightly cultivated, the effect would not be as obvious. But who makes oneself an ordinary person who has never practiced before? Well, that kind of muscle-building exercise is not called cultivation, it's called exercise. The cleaning effect of the spiritual power leaked out by oneself is very obvious, and one can see the pores of the body, slowly seeping out a dark and foul-smelling liquid. Lei Yundong, who understood what was going on, immediately rushed to the bathroom with great joy to freshen up. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Going out of the city to the countryside. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Going out of the city to the countryside. After finishing his grooming, Lei Yundong walked out feeling refreshed. At this moment, the neon lights outside had already gone out, and the sky was also dimly lit. The night had just passed. Lei Yundong suddenly had the urge to go see the rising sun. But he still suppressed this feeling. The whole person was thrown onto the sofa, legs crossed and placed on the coffee table. Embrace your chest and start thinking about how to implement your plan at the beginning. Directly use soul control techniques to control the celestial beings of the Three Treasures Star, and through puppets, turn the Three Treasures Star into my territory. Lei Yundong beeped here, with a hint of emotion in his eyes. It's not that Lei Yundong boasted. After the war against Hengchao, his reputation either boiled or was in a mess. Anyway, wherever he went, whenever he was discovered, a large number of righteous or evil people would surround him. Some will give him advice, while others will offer various strange secrets. Regardless of whether it is good or bad, all those who have the intention to change regard him as the great demon who was announced by the great Hing dynasty as a beacon of help. At that time, Lei Yundong didn't have much rest time due to being chased by the strongest force of the Daheng dynasty, and he didn't even care about screening these people. He was always willing to help. Just like people who are about to die of thirst, whether they are poisonous or not, as long as they can quench their thirst. So during that period of fleeing around the world, Lei Yundong came into contact with many people and learned many secrets. The evil secrets that control people are only a small part of it. But Lei Yundong quickly suppressed his emotions and shook his head incessantly. No, you can't play with your soul. Before, you still fused with my childhood soul, and almost made me run to the Daheng dynasty to become an official. Those who play with the soul must have their soul played with. The soul is not something that ordinary people can touch, and these warning signs are not meant to be played with. Before, I used to scoff at it, but almost every time I met those big players who played soul spells, their mentality changed dramatically, and they were not aware of it, which proves that the warning message was correct. When I'm no longer myself, am I still me? So unless absolutely necessary, never touch soul art, Lei Yundong said firmly. Don't worry, I feel extremely secure right now. I can squander a lot of opportunities and time in the future. There's no need to take a drastic path, take it slow and lay a solid foundation. Lei Yundong lazily muttered to himself. Really, he is feeling extremely secure now. Who knew that in this remote place of Sanbao Xingfeng Port City, there was a great demon who would shake the world 300 years later reborn? As for time, as long as one achieves success in cultivation, their lifespan will soar and increase. In terms of strength, Lei Yundongdu is still in its prime 300 years later. So calm down, the means don't need to be too aggressive, take it slow. But even if you take it slow, you still have to start. After some thought, it was already dawn and Lei Yundong's stomach was rumbling. Naturally, he tidied up and picked up the cash, then went out to have breakfast. There are restaurants around residential buildings like Lei Yundong, so I casually found one and started eating. The taste was average, but the taste of his long-lost hometown made Lei Yundong eat happily. After breakfast, passers-by rushed to various workplaces in a hurry, which was the peak period of the morning shift. Lei Yundong didn't squeeze those electric cars or buses, leisurely strolling on the street. This feeling of worker ants being busy is something that can only be seen in commercial cities. And you can also see some police patrolling in the city. These police officers are not recognized as active Yamen officers by the Daheng dynasty. They are just employees recruited by the Gentry Alliance that controls various regions, although they also have promotion opportunities and retirement benefits. But ultimately, they are just employees. At the top of a planet are those heavenly beings, followed by the 6 houses and the gentry and powerful. The third level is the 3-class Yamen, and the fourth level is the management level promoted from the public to serve the various gentry alliances. Those police officers belong to the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels, and they can only exercise their security powers in their own jurisdiction and are not qualified to act across districts. People in the sky usually spend their days in the wind, flowers, snow, and moon, without managing the mundane world below. So the governance of the entire planet relies on the joint governance of the 6 houses and the Gentry Alliance occupying various regions. When the Yamen guards have commands from heaven and earth, they can really roam the world, but without commands, they can only stay in the main city. However, those who make good use of their power are all colluding with the 6 houses and the Gentry Alliance, deceiving and profiting recklessly. So don't think that the Gentry Alliance is a villain. Without their protection, the only ones who suck on the bone and marrow are the Yamen officials. These things are clear to Lei Yundong, after all, 200 years of travel is not for nothing. After swaying for a while and feeling the atmosphere of this era, Linhezhuang took the bus out of the city and bought a map of Fenggang City before boarding. The bus leaving the city was empty, except for the driver and ticket seller. There was only Linhezhuang. However, this is also normal. City people are so busy with work that they can't even catch their breath. There is no free time to go out and stroll around the city. And people outside the city, if there is nothing to do, will not enter the city. Besides, they are busy from morning till night and have no time to enter the city. Looking up the map, Linhezhuang remained calm in his heart, although he still felt disconnected from the era by looking at paper maps during the Interstellar era. But one thing is that high-tech gadgets, such as smartwatches, are only available in the main city and are expensive. Linhezhuang, who can't even afford the car fare, doesn't have to think about these high-tech options. The second one, in the last 100 years of Linhezhuang's previous life, he really didn't have these high-tech things on him. He was always in battle, but he couldn't protect these enemies. It was just a thing that would shatter if he was intimidated. So Linhezhuang, who has not used high technology for a century, is quite accustomed to the outdated behavior of this era. The car arrived at the suburban station, and Linhezhuang got off and began to look around. Without looking at the lonely station behind me, the scenery in front of me feels like a return to ancient times. On dirt roads, endless farmland and dense forests, birds flying over the sky from time to time, chickens, ducks, and geese wandering around, dogs jumping and frolicking, cows swaying their tails by the farmland, and pigs swaying and swaying step by step. The rural atmosphere can be described as rushing forward. Linhezhuang has long been accustomed to the feeling of returning from modern to ancient times. The technological barrier and separation of Daheng dynasty are very serious. Let's put it this way, the main cities of various administrative stars are the cities where the official residences of those celestial beings are located. They really have the appearance of interstellar cities, spaceships that can easily span tens of thousands of light-years, devices that can communicate regardless of distance, and all kinds of imagined high-tech items. But apart from these main cities that keep up with the times, it is already very good for other cities to be able to step into the electrical era, and Linhezhuang has also seen cities that are still in the coal steam era. Besides these cities, almost all the rural areas below were in the era of male farming and female weaving. As for why is this so? Linhezhuang is not sure, he didn't spend time exploring these before. Of course, the residences and facilities of the gentry and aristocrats are very advanced, and they will not compromise themselves. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Visiting the Liu family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Visiting the Liu family. That group of playful local dogs originally didn't care about Linhezhuang, but when Linhezhuang walked towards their territory, they immediately gathered around and barked at him. Dogs fight against the crowd, one by one with their teeth and claws open, and many of them still seem to be unable to resist and ready to pounce. Linhezhuang smiled and glanced at these dogs, as if encountering an irresistible boss. They all fell down, rolled over, and revealed their bellies. A farmer who was originally afraid of being bitten by a local dog and was rushing over couldn't help but feel a thump in his heart at the sight, and his footsteps slowed down a bit. Linhezhuang crouched down with a smile and caressed the dogs one by one. The dogs that were allowed to turn over were all wagging their tails one by one, and they were all shouting and demonstrating at the farmers who hesitated to approach. The farmer's heart was filled with curses and curses. These damn dogs have now taken over. There is also my own dog inside, it's really a waste of all these years. If Linhezhuang's gaze scared all those dogs away, the farmers would definitely not dare to approach immediately. But with a gaze that subdued these dogs, the farmer could confidently approach and greet them. This city guy, don't you know what's going on when he comes to Lujia town? Linhezhuang smiled and said, I'm here to pay my respects to Mr. Liu. Please inform me in advance, uncle. I don't know who the little brother is, the farmer asked hesitantly. Just say that I can share the worries of Mr. Lu, and solve their most troubled problems now, Linhezhuang said calmly. Ah. Alright, I'll go report now. I'll inform you as soon as the boss decides. The farmer quickly turned around and ran away. Watching the farmer running away quickly, Linhezhuang raised his eyebrows, reaching a speed of 10 seconds and 100 meters, which can last for an hour. It can be considered as a good workout. Linhezhuang was not surprised at all that a mere farmer had such a physique. Are you joking? Do you really think this kind of farmer like Ming Xiao is an ordinary farmer? These farmers who are scattered along the border of Lujia town not only have a certain level of military strength, but also need to have a certain level of social skills, responsiveness, sensitivity, and ability to analyze events. They are the first contacts in the face of difficulties, which ordinary farmers cannot handle. As for why not equip the farmer with a communication device? How do you know? I'm not the master of the Lu family. With these thoughts in mind, Linhezhuang leisurely strolled along the muddy road, surrounded by loyal guards from the dogs. The farmer quickly ran to a quaint courtyard and reported to the steward wearing a black suit. You said there's a city resident who wants to meet the master. You said he can solve the problems of the master and young master. The steward was somewhat surprised. Yes, because no one else knew about the young master's return to his hometown, I heard him mention him and quickly came to report it, said the farmer. Yes, the outsider who brought the young master back doesn't even know. Alright, it's none of your business, go back to your post. The steward waved to the farmer to step down. Then he took out his phone, dialed the number, and respectfully said, "Third butler, there's something." He explained the matter with a clattering sound, and then asked, "Do you think I should go down and accompany that city resident?" After a pause on the phone, the third butler said directly, "No need, I will go and accompany that guest." Holding the hung-up phone, the butler pondered a bit. As soon as the third butler heard the news, he wanted to accompany the guest, indicating that what the guest said was true. What difficulties do the master and young master have? Of course, he dared not explore, only lamenting that he could not serve the master and young master. Not long after Linhezhuang left, a small black dot flew from a distance at a very fast speed. In the blink of an eye, a convertible suspended sedan came to a stop on the side. A middle-aged man dressed in ancient butler attire got off the car and saluted Linhezhuang, saying, "Lu Zheng, the foreign affairs butler of the Lu family, has met this young master." As for those dogs, they were not loyal and were immediately scared away by the floating sedan. Linhezhuang has met the foreign affairs butler here. Linhezhuang smiled and bowed back. Please get in the car, the master is about to meet Mr. Lei. Lu Zheng opened the car door. Linhezhuang got into the car, without any curiosity or fear of the car suddenly taking off. Instead, he looked up at the countryside with great interest. Just kidding, he doesn't even know how many interstellar battleships he dismantled with his bare hands. How could he be so surprised by this floating sedan? Linhezhuang asked with great interest, "Manager Lu, how much land in this 17,000 square kilometer Lujia town belongs to someone other than Mr. Lu?" Looking from this side, the surrounding 9,000 square kilometers belong to the Lu family, and the rest are from several other families, Lu Zheng said while observing Linhezhuang. It's only 9,000 square kilometers, not a lot, Linhezhuang said. This would make others hear the words of wanting to hit someone, but Lu Zheng nodded in agreement and said, "Yes, it's less than 10,000 square kilometers. It's really too small, but it's impossible. The surrounding land is all owned and cannot be expanded. Can we go somewhere else?" Linhezhuang smiled mysteriously. Lu Zheng's heart thumped, wanting to ask but not daring to ask. For a moment only the wind howled. But soon, a vast black shadow appeared on the horizon. Lu Zheng immediately introduced, with a hint of sarcasm in his words. Master Lei, ahead is the Lu family's mansion. It took 30,000 taels to build, covering an area of 30,000 acres, with 17,340 rooms and 745 courtyards of various sizes. He deliberately drove a suspended sedan around the building complex while speaking. Lei Yundong calmly admired the ancient and classical architectural complex of carving dragons and painting phoenixes, but secretly sighed in his heart. The aftermath of seeing so much knowledge is something that shocked countless people, and it is also ordinary for him. But naturally, there is a lot of praise in one's mouth, which is a polite gesture. Lu Jing naturally observed the calmness and composure inside Lei Yundong, and this kind of insight was necessary for him. His heart thumped again and he cautiously parked his car in front of the main entrance of the building complex. Without leading Lei Yundong through the main gate of the clan has not been casually opened from ancient times to the present day. Lu Jing shouted to the approaching servant, "Open the ceremonial door." The servant was momentarily stunned, then shook and quickly turned around and ran away. Lu Jing then said to Lei Yundong with some embarrassment, "Please hold on for a while, young Master Lei." "It's okay," Lei Yundong nodded with a smile. It seems that this foreign affairs butler is a knowledgeable person who immediately realizes his uniqueness. Lei Yundong, who has been wandering around for 200 years, of course knows the difference between going through the side gate and going through the ceremonial gate when visiting the big clan. As soon as this thing was opened, the entire Lu family knew that a guest had arrived, and it was also a distinguished guest. Lu Zheng's order was passed down, and the tightly closed ceremonial door inside the main door, which was twice the size of the main door, slowly opened. A group of respectful male servants were already waiting on both sides. And where the guests inside may pass by, countless maids have long been busy cleaning and tidying up under the orders of the stewards. The father and son, who had been waiting for Lu Yuanwei for a long time, couldn't help but be taken aback when they received the news of the opening ceremony. Lu Daxiao was shocked and said, "Dad, why did Lu Zheng let go of the Yaimen? Didn't he say he was a young man from Fenggang City?" Lu Yuanwei responded, "Lu Zheng's vision is even stronger than yours. He must have discovered the truth behind opening the ceremonial door. Don't be fooled, hurry up and change into suitable clothes and clothing." "Oh," Grandpa Lu nodded and was rushed away by the maids. And the internal affairs manager, who specializes in handling these affairs, namely the second butler of the clan, quickly led people to tidy up the reception hall. For the big clan, everything has its own rules and rituals, and there will be no chaos. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Attraction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Attraction. Lei Yundong calmly arrived at the main hall under the guidance of Lu Zheng, and saluted Lu Yuanwei, dressed in the attire of a local tycoon, as well as Lu Daxiao, dressed as a scholar. Mr. Lu smiled and sat down for tea, while Mr. Lu warmly greeted Lei Yundong. Because what Lei Yundong said earlier had already been passed on to these two by Lu Zheng, they were both shocked and very excited. As for Lei Yundong's identity information. After meeting the farmer in Lei Yundong, his information was thoroughly investigated. This is the ability of a local snake, and it's not easy to meet without understanding the details. Upon seeing this information, Mr. Lu dropped a ridiculous sentence and instructed their subordinates to continue investigating. "Are you really joking? A local citizen born and raised in Fenggang City actually has the courage to come and find the local leader Lu's family in Fenggang City. Surprisingly, did you know that Mr. Lu has returned to his hometown? Surprisingly, you know that the two big shots are troubled. How dare you confidently say that it can be solved? Is this too abnormal?" But this abnormality represents a contingency. In addition, Lu Zheng made it clear that this young man was definitely not a true petty citizen. Only by believing in Lu Zheng's vision and holding on to the possibility of a collision, did Lu Yuanwei and Lu Daxiao receive him so warmly. Otherwise, do you really think that by pretending casually, you can log into the Lu family? The father and son of the Lu family, as well as the attendants, watched Lei Yundong's every move with fiery eyes and golden stars. To probe, the Lu family used high-standard etiquette, and the items they arranged and the behavior of their attendants were all high-end. Lei Yundong had no waves in his heart about these things. To be honest, he has enjoyed the entire set of enjoyment for the Emperor of Daheng several times. This is also impossible. Since those evil demons and heretics are enemies of the Daheng dynasty, they will not care about what kind of usurpation. In addition, they have easy access to money, and under various evil means, there are many people who obey orders. Moreover, they don't know which day they will be killed. Therefore, these evil spirits and outsiders can enjoy as extravagantly as possible. The emperor's set meal is not often enjoyed because it is too troublesome and a waste of time, but it is not something that cannot be learned. The necessary supplies can be obtained with money in this interstellar era. As for the royal rules, a puppet who is in charge of internal affairs knows all the rules. So when encountering Lei Yundong, a powerful demon that shook the world, those evil demons and outsiders, in order to curry favor and show off, must have brought out the emperor's set meal to entertain them. Lei Yundong, who will never forget his insights, took a sip of tea and nodded, saying, "Mr. Lu, this tea is from your tea house, isn't it? It has a strong local flavor and can definitely be rated as a 5th-grade tea. It contains a lot of vitality." Mr. Lu nodded contentedly. What do these local snakes rely on for their foreign trade? Isn't it just our local specialty? But I was also secretly surprised. Let's put it this way, even the heavenly beings of the 3 treasures star cannot enjoy the production of his tea house year-round. Most of it is transported to the provincial capital for sale. Lei Yundong stuck up a piece of cake and ate it. He couldn't help but brighten his eyes. Counselor Lu is so arrogant. This is actually a dim sum of colorful cakes beside Liyuan, the provincial capital. Both Mr. Lu and Mr. Lu couldn't help but shrink their pupils. Lu Yuanwei smiled and said, "No, that's exactly what I brought back from the hospital trial. I think it has great commemorative value, so I'll keep it until now." This would have offended guests in the past, but in this interstellar era, it will make guests feel flattered. Because the storage period of this item will be infinitely extended in this interstellar era. Lu Dashao also politely said, "If Brother Lei likes it, he can eat a few more pieces." Then he couldn't help but probe, "Has Brother Lei been to the provincial capital? I haven't even been to the county town without any money, where can I get to the provincial capital?" Lei Yundong said with a big grin. Lei Xiandi was joking," Lu Dashao said with a trembling face. "Alright, let's not gossip anymore." Lei Yundong clapped his hands and glanced at the people present, asking, "Mr. Lu, are all the people present trustworthy?" All the butlers, servants, and maids present trembled, but Counselor Lu nodded without hesitation and said, "Of course, they are all the children of our Lu family, sharing weal and woe with our Lu family. They are all trustworthy." As soon as these words were spoken, the butler and servant girl immediately straightened her waist and became extremely energetic. Lei Yundong secretly complained to himself that the local tyrants and evil gentry were able to dominate. They had a good way of controlling people's hearts. It had to be learned. Okay, to be honest, I came to see Mr. Lu and Mr. Lu this time to sell information and methods to solve their long-standing problems. To put it bluntly, I will spend some time using the information difference between us to earn some pocket money from your side. Lei Yundong smiled. Lu Dashao couldn't help but say first, "Do you know my troubles?" "Che, this is so simple. Lu Dashao has been a scholar for 13 years, right? He didn't even pass the qualification exam in the last imperial examination, so he realized that his strength couldn't take the official path of the imperial examination, so he was so distressed that he didn't know what to do, right?" Lei Yundong said nonchalantly. Lu Dashao's face turned pale with a blush. No one would have spoken such a thing so bluntly in front of him. I really can't bear it for a while. At this moment, Lu Yuanwei maintained a calm demeanor and said, Lei Xian niece, this matter of the dog's son can be easily understood by some insiders. What kind of distress is this? Hey, I said your distress is that you are unwilling to stay on the path of petty officials in Sanbao Star, and there is no way to become a petty official in the capital, right? Lei Yundong smiled. The father and son couldn't help but feel a great shock in their hearts. The servant girl's expression remained unchanged, but their confused eyes made it seem that they couldn't understand. However, the butler beside him looked shocked, indicating that he understood. No one is a fool, especially Lu Dashao, who was able to pass the imperial examination and become a scholar in this interstellar era. He rushed over excitedly and grabbed Lei Yundong's hand, saying, Young man, do you have any connections to the capital? Nature, otherwise would I dare to run over and talk nonsense. Lei Yundong grabbed his hand and took a sip of the tea. Lu Dasho immediately poured tea attentively and urgently asked, Young man, tell me quickly. What kind of way is this? Wenfeng. Lu Yuanwei called out his son's name. Did you not hear that this foolish son is here to sell information? No bid, how could they possibly say that way? At this moment, those who had previously doubted or suspected Lei Yundong would no longer know where to fly. After all, simply being able to identify the source of tea and pastries is not something that ordinary people can do, and even the existence of those petty officials and government officials in the 3 treasure stars cannot achieve it. Lu Dashao restrained his eagerness, but still looked at Lei Yundong with a scorching gaze. My dear nephew, I don't know how much your information fee is. How can I confirm the accuracy of this information fee? Said Lu as he went out. Lei Yundong smiled and said, Uncle Lu, you can keep an eye on the cost. I'll let you know the information first. It's up to you to figure out how to get there. Let's talk about whether we can get there or not. Whether we can get through or not is our Lu family's ability, so naturally we can't rely on our wise nephew. But we still need an accurate figure for this cost, right? Otherwise, we will give less, but if you don't like it, wise nephew, we will give more. Our Lu family is not happy either. With a definite figure, everyone is good. Lu Yuanwei said like an old fox. Lei Yun smacked his lips and said, Okay, don't blame me for being greedy. The information I've provided is very high-end. If it weren't for my lack of scholar status, I would have wanted to leave. Lei Yundong hesitated for a moment before saying, of the 10,000 acres of land, there should be 10 acres of good farmland. Just give them another 1,000 taels. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. White Wolf with Empty Hands. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. White Wolf with Empty Hands. Chapter 6. White Wolf with Empty Hands. The fertile land of Daheng Dynasty does not refer to ordinary fields that can be planted. Applying the setting of Xianxia, it is a spiritual field where black iron rice can be planted at the lowest. And the production of such good farmland is the agricultural tax target of Daheng Dynasty. The grains grown in ordinary fields are not even targeted by Daheng Chao. After all, there are so many planets and vast fields, ordinary fields are really everywhere. The production of ordinary farmland is consumed on this planet, while the production of good farmland needs to be carried up by a spaceship level by level. With an excited expression on his face, Lu Dashao was about to agree, but he stopped Lei Yundong and said, regardless of whether the cost is successful or not, you can give me the information you receive. Then you can open up this path and achieve your goal. As a reward, you can give me twice the previous reward. Don't worry, do as I say. As long as there is no accident or the person handling the matter is foolish, this path can be said to be smooth. And once the relationship is established and maintained well in the future, the benefits will be endless. You have made a lot of money, I have sold at a loss. Lei Yundong pouted. Mr. Lu was very atmospheric and said directly, I don't need to get any information to give it to you. Big butler, let's go get the land transfer contract and 1,000 pieces of Linhezhuang now. It's the master. The butler beside the attendant immediately turned around and left. Lei Yun raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Uncle Lu is grand. This is not a big deal. If it really gets through, I won't be able to double your salary 5 times in the future, Lu Yuanwei laughed. Upon hearing these words, Lei Yun smacked his lips as if he had caught a glimpse of these remote rural tyrants and evil gentry. 50,000 acres of land is not a big deal, but those 50 acres of good farmland and 5,000 taels of Linhezhuang, even some middle-class households in the capital have to worry about it for a long time. The butler was very agile in his work, and soon he came in holding a stack of high-end looking paper, followed by a strong male servant carrying a huge box. The box was opened, and a stack of milky white, jade-like outer round square holes with a diameter of 5 centimeters and a thickness of approximately 5 millimeters were presented. This is Linhezhuang, a coin produced by the Ministry of Revenue of Daheng Dynasty. This thing contains unique energy that can be directly absorbed for cultivation, and the effect is also very outstanding. But apart from the legitimate sons of those luxurious clans, few would be willing to use money to cultivate, because consuming it would definitely make people feel heartbroken and want to die. That's filling the bottomless pit of dissatisfaction. Lei Yundong had planned to carry out a retaliatory act of infiltrating the national treasury and emptying the Linhezhuang in his previous life, but the protection in the treasury area was more rigorous than in his own emperor's palace, so he had no choice but to give up. Lei Yundong's absent-minded expression left those present very confused. Where did he think of going? But it is also certain that they must have had more Linhezhuang, otherwise they would not have faced 1,000 Linhezhuang and could have been absent-minded thinking about other things. The butler first handed Mr. Lu a piece of paper and then took out a camera-like device to shoot at him. Lei Yundong understands this point, and such documents related to the government must have video evidence at the time of signing. Of course, there are too many ways to cheat here. Otherwise, when the local tyrants, evil gentry, and magnates seize, how can they keep the loot under their own name? Mr. Lu just glanced at the content, then signed and printed it privately, and gestured for the butler to take the paper to Lei Yundong. The housekeeper kept the shooting status and handed the documents to Lei Yundong. Lei Yundong aimed at it. The so-called land deed of 10,000 mu was actually a Chuang-tzu, on which there were topographic maps and registered residence information in Chuang-tzu. Moreover, looking at the information on this topographic map, it is said that 10,000 acres of land will be given as a gift. In fact, there is a lot more, and the topographic map clearly indicates the area to which Zhuangzi belongs. Lei Yundong also realized that the so-called 10,000 mu of land refers to the cultivated area. And Zhuangzi also has areas such as village farms, ponds, rivers, mountains and forests. It can be said that Mr. Lu is really impressive. A 10-acre field is quite complex, with detailed dimensions and physical maps, as well as yield data for each acre over the past 10 years, and receipts for paying agricultural taxes. That's right, good farmland is a land deed for each acre, each with historical production and agricultural tax collection basis. Similarly, this good land deed can actually be used directly as a large check. For the officials of the Daheng dynasty, even if you don't pay a single grain of rice on millions of acres of ordinary agricultural land. But Liang Tian, if you lose 1 pound of agricultural tax, the Yamen will rush to your house to forcibly demand payment. So don't look at Lei Yundong using secret information to demand such a large piece of land, it's like a lion opening its mouth. In fact, to put it bluntly, it means that 1,000 taels of Linhezhuang and 10 acres of fertile land are valuable. For these local tyrants and evil gentry, the Zhuangzi and the tenant farmers above are nothing at all. Thinking about it this way, using this opportunity to elevate the family to the capital doesn't seem like a big deal in exchange for this kind of thing. Taking the pen, signing, without personal printing, directly making a fingerprint, all of this was captured by the butler. The butler looked at Mr. Lu and he nodded. The butler gritted his teeth and transmitted the video file to the household of Sanbao Star. Perhaps due to the gentry, there was a sudden phone call to inquire with Mr. Lu, and after confirmation, the household information was naturally changed. As for Lei Yundong's information, the office in Hufang is all done by Jinao, who automatically obtains his detailed information through Lei Yundong's appearance and signature information. Don't worry, the government will handle the matter of good farmland properly and accurately. Because every acre of changes in Liangtian will be summarized in the main brain backup of the imperial capital. It can be said that after Lu Yuanwei confirmed with the household staff on the other end of the phone, Lei Yundong became a small landlord with backup of the imperial capital's main brain. Lei Yundong casually put these documents aside and said with a smile, "Haha, Uncle Lu is grand. He hasn't even heard the news yet, so he'll give me the reward first. Then I won't delay either. The gateway I provided is one that can directly lead to the Grand Tutor of Fuqing Prefecture." Lei Yundong shook everyone with one sentence. To Lu Dashao, whose face had already turned red, he smiled and said, "Our prefectural governor has been doting on Aunt San the most in recent years. Aunt San's relatives are like chickens and dogs ascending to heaven. In recent years, we have taken advantage of the authority of prefectural governor to make special purchases. My dear brother, these 3 aunts are too." Lu Dashao nervously rubbed his hands. "Sure isn't it? Do you think you can get in touch with the 3rd aunt of the mansion? Be careful not to let the Grand Master of the mansion get jealous and hit your board." Lei Yundong laughed. The crowd was shocked and couldn't help but sigh. What worries these reclusive people so much is that they tend to be jealous. In the end, I didn't get enough sleep and offended people, and the gains outweighed the losses. Lei Yundong didn't tease them either and continued, "Our prefect loves to eat the delicious dishes of the chefs in Aunt San's room the most. And this cook, on the other hand, is the cousin of the 3rd aunt who has not yet produced her 3rd attire. The most important thing is that Aunt San and her cousin, the cook, have ancestral roots in our Sanbao Star Weihu town. That cook has a saying that a good dish requires the use of a plant from Weihu town as an additive, and this dish is always ordered by our mansion's Taida master. I have received news that during this period, this chef will secretly return to Weihu town to collect that kind of plant." Seeing everyone's excitement, Lei Yundong woke up and said, "How to make friends with the cook, and then connect with Aunt San through him, and then connect with Master Fu Tai. I think Uncle Lu has a solution. What I want to remind you is not to explore what kind of plants that cook needs. This is the chef's eating ability. It's not about passing on the seeds to the disciples. If you foolishly prepare for him in advance, you might become enemies directly." After listening to these words, Lu Yuanwei stood up and bowed to Lei Yundong, "Thank you for your message. As long as my son can take root in the capital, 10 times the reward is waiting for you. Uncle Lu is grand. In fact, as long as you connect with the Grand Tutor, it should be easy to find a position as a petty official in the city. As for the quality of the position, it is a matter of the number of offerings. With this position that can almost be passed down to future generations, it is not a problem for Brother Lu to root, and even for the entire Lu family to move to the city. So, I congratulate the Lu family in advance that they will soon be promoted to the prestigious family in the city." Lei Yundong smiled and bowed back. Then thank you, nephew Xian, for your kind words." Counselor Lu laughed heartily. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Farewell, go see my land. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Farewell, go see my land. Lei Yundong, however, was not very kind. He had a sumptuous lunch at the Lu family, and then was escorted away by the 3rd butler in a floating car, holding documents and a money box. The father and son stood at the door to bid farewell, watching the car go far away. Lu Dashao couldn't help but say, "Father, if the news about this channel is true, the 2 tales of farmland money sent out now would be very valuable." But if it succeeds, he will give 10 times the amount of farmland money as a thank you, but he feels a bit unworthy. Haha, how could it not be worth it? Not to mention that our Lu family learned about the channel to befriend the Grand Tutor, it is also very worthwhile to befriend Brother Lei who knows these secret information. Lu Yuanwei smiled. Then he looked at his son and reminded him, you wouldn't think that Brother Lei, who knows such hidden information, wouldn't know a few big shots. Like in the province. Like the imperial censor. Maybe there will be times when he needs to ask for help from others in the future. If you want to leave a deep impression when doing something, you naturally have to be willing to give it a benefit that exceeds people's psychological expectations, and it will make them stunned and ecstatic. And these external possessions don't need to be taken seriously at all. If our Lu family can move to the capital like the 7th ant of the mansion, what if all these possessions are lost now? Sooner or later, we will earn back a bigger fortune. The life in the city is much better than that in the county, and at the same time, there are many more opportunities than in the county. Whenever you encounter an opportunity, you can't help but build a noble family in the city, Lu said in a profound manner. Yes, my father taught me well. Lu saluted respectfully. Well, let's take a break for now. We still need to discuss with the clan elders tonight. Lu nodded outside and returned to the inside with his close servant. After watching his father leave, Lu Dashao still stayed in front of the gate, gazing out at the sky. Then he suddenly said to himself, alas, I heard that the public security in Fenggang City is very chaotic, with many unscrupulous individuals who like to extort, seek wealth, and be ruthless. I don't know if my younger brother Lei Xiandi will be targeted when he carries such a big money box back. The two attendants beside him glanced at each other, and one hesitated and said, young master, I have heard that those who have gone down 3 times are all people with fiery eyes and Venus. Do you have any valuable items with you? You can tell at a glance. No matter how tightly you hide them, they are useless. Another servant also said, yes, yes. I have an uncle who has been paying special attention when visiting the city. He has hidden the money under his shoes, but before he went far into the city, he was blocked and robbed by those low-level thugs. Their eyes are too poisonous. So young Master Lei may be in danger. Oh, I see. I don't know if Brother Lei Xiandi will notice this. If he goes directly to the bank to deposit, he should be able to avoid it, right? Lu Dasho sighed again. Young master, even the money savings bank cannot avoid it. As long as they are targeted by that gang of thugs, they have ways to force people to get the money out, the servant said again. Oh, doesn't that mean my younger brother Lei couldn't avoid being targeted by the lower 3 promiscuous people? Lu Dashao asked excitedly. One servant nodded his head in recognition, while the other servant reminded him with some caution, young master, those vulgar people also look at people and do things. If that young Master Lei is very capable and has a background, they will definitely avoid him. It would be great if I could know the details of my Thunder Sage's divine way, Lu Dashao smiled. The 2 servants immediately nodded incessantly. Lu Dashao then walked back satisfied, knowing that his close servant would help fulfill his wishes. And the 2 thugs who were pondering how to spread the news without any trace to the ears of Fenggang City suddenly heard Lu Dasho mutter, how dare you mock me for not even passing the qualification exam for the civil service examination. Humph. The 2 of them couldn't help but feel a chill. The young master also held grudges too much, isn't it just a matter of 1 sentence? And they also revealed some big news, and the master even made a special reminder. Surprisingly, he couldn't resist and immediately began to retaliate. You are so narrow-minded, such a master is not easy to serve. But helplessly, as the master said in front of young Master Lei, these people of mine are all born from their own families, sharing weal and woe with the Lu family. On the flying car, Lei Yundong said to Lu Zheng, Manager Lu, if I were to go and see my land now, wouldn't it be too hasty? Lu Zheng smiled and said, Master Lei, this is not a rush at all. After the changes were made to the houses in the county, those lands belong to you. You can handle them as you want. Hehe, could you please ask Manager Lu to give me a ride? Linhezhuang smiled. No problem. Lu Jing readily agreed to this kind of effortless task, and even some of his good sellers said, it just happened to make those farmers recognize you as their new owner. Oh, I forgot to ask, how many people are there in this village? Linhezhuang asked. Your manor has 250 households and around 500 young and strong people. At the same time, the 10 acres of fertile land are also on the territory of this manor, being served by the old farmers of the manor. Their registered residence went with the land deed of Chuang Tzu, and they didn't need to go to the Yamen to reapply, Lu said. Linhezhuang responded and watched as the flying car tilted in one direction. Linhezhuang, who has seen the topographic map, naturally knows that this village is far from Fenggang City, and can be said to be the land of the Lu family that is the farthest from Fenggang City, and it is also adjacent to the land of 4 other officials. Linhezhuang is not surprised at all about this. This free gift is really not much of a place to go, and anyone chooses it like this. Manager Lu, is there anything I need to pay attention to after owning this estate? Linhezhuang asked. Steward Lu casually said, as long as the routine matters within the village continue, there shouldn't be any problems. Of course, it depends on what young Master Lei thinks. Besides Zhuangzi, there is also the annual agricultural tax that needs to be paid. There is no need to worry about this. The Yamen is more concerned than us, and they will come to inspect from time to time. Zhuangzi will also receive it as usual, so you don't have to worry about it. Linhezhuang interjected, besides agricultural tax, what other fees must be paid? There's nothing else that needs to be paid. Oh, there really is. Every year on the county master's birthday, a gift money needs to be given, and at the same time, an annual polishing fee needs to be shared among all the heavenly beings. These were all discussed by the old men, and you will definitely receive notification then, young Master Lei. As for other expenses such as gift-giving and tipping, it varies from person to person, said Butler Lu. Linhezhuang was not surprised at the official's blatant acceptance of bribes, so he continued to ask, what about the funds of the manor? If you don't invest in Zhuangzi, there will be no need for any expenses. Zhuangzi produces, and you and Zhuangzi share the income, which is enough to meet the needs of so many people in Zhuangzi. Every year, there will be an annual supply for you, but it will be some wild game and dried fruits. Speaking of this, Lu Jing subconsciously said from the bottom of his heart, actually, this manor is used to take care of those 10 acres of fertile land. The manor doesn't make much profit, with an annual harvest of about 10,000 dan. But now, the market only has a few hundred yuan of grain, just a few green coins, and it really doesn't make any money. Moreover, if something happens to Zhuangzi, such as natural disasters, man-made disasters, or illness, your master will have to either directly pay for relief or borrow money to treat the illness. After all, there are many troubles. Linhezhuang didn't mind the matter of having to pay for it. Since I became the head of the household, I naturally have to take responsibility for these things. However, the price of these grains is too low to sell for a lot of money, and the output of those good fields has been centrally purchased, and the prices are still kept low. Master Lei is righteous. Yes, grain prices have not risen in recent years, and the only advantage is that the government provides cash for the production of good farmland. Lu Jing also sighed. Linhezhuang understands very well that the cash here refers to the 2 heng coins, de heng and de heng. If we really want to use local currency to collect good farmland and produce, believe it or not, the local tyrants and evil gentry dare to gather armed soldiers to besiege the county town. The two of them were chatting casually, and when they flew to a village surrounded by rice paddies, Lu Jing reminded them, Master Lei, it's time for your estate. Linhezhuang, who had long remembered the map, knew it without the need for Lu Jing to speak. Looking at the village in front of me, my heart was filled with excitement as my collective career began in this village. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Linhezhuang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Linhezhuang. The village area occupied by Zhuangzi is relatively vast, with the vast majority of houses covered in mud brick and grass sheds. Of course, the entire village is also dotted with some reinforced concrete buildings. Just looking at the appearance, these reinforced concrete houses are not in the shape of people, but rather some facility buildings. But the most eye-catching thing is a large ancient building built with stones by the valley in the center of the village. Looking at the back of the stone tower, there are several large, somewhat modern barn-like buildings. It goes without saying that this unique building should be a resting place for the Zhuangzi Council and the people sent by the Lu family. The car stopped towards this ancient stone building. As early as the car arrived, the first villager to notice was already shouting and shouting. By the time the car landed, all the people in the village had already gathered in the valley. Glancing over, there were indeed over 500 young and robust individuals. Then there are 500 to 600 middle-aged men, 200 to 300 elderly men, and an equal number of middle-aged and elderly women. There are more young women, totaling 700 to 800. Then there are 300 to 400 young children. A hint of excitement flashed in Lei Yundong's eyes. Unexpectedly, the population of 250 households had reached over 2,000. In Lei Yundong's eyes, Linhezhuang should not only refer to men, but should actually include women. Even middle-aged men, women, and young children can be driven. Wow, haha, this is my first time gathering a crowd, and there are actually over 1,500 available people. This time, I really made a lot of money by using empty-handed white wolves. It is indeed an easy task to earn money and goods by knowing future information. Hello, Butler Lu, I didn't know you were here this time, said an elderly voice with great respect. Lei Yundong looked up and saw an old man with wrinkles on his face, dark and aged. If the other person dared to speak at this moment, it was obvious that he was the kind of person in the village. This village and the land it belongs to, as well as the 10 spiritual fields, have been transferred by Lord Lu to this young Master Lei Yundong. From now on, young Master Lei will be your master's family, Lu Jing said sharply. Lei Yundong also skillfully took out the transfer document and showed it to me. More than 2,000 farmers, of course not everyone will hear it, but the people in the front row naturally spread the news. In no time, the farmers were in a panic, some were lost and confused, some frowned and pondered, some showed signs of panic, and only the young children looked at the adults in a daze. Lei Yundong carefully scrutinized their expressions, feeling indifferent. These were a group of farmers who were accustomed to being kept in captivity, and they lacked much knowledge and were out of place in this interstellar era. Similarly, they also heavily rely on their immediate support, the owners of the land they inhabit, and even a single word from these gentry is more effective than a decree. After Lei Yundong became reckless in his previous life, he often killed local tyrants and evil gentry indiscriminately. But none of them are respected by the liberators, on the contrary, many are filled with hatred. Many farmers, disregarding their differences in strength, rushed forward to seek revenge for their master. Saying they are ignorant is really foolish. For generations, they have stayed on the land and obeyed the masters above, allowing them to suck on their own bones and marrow. The only thing I dare to do is to kneel down and beg when the scraping is too severe. If you really want to say it's incurable, that's not necessarily true. At least like those who lived in ancient times, when they saw flying cars, spaceships, and various high-tech products, they were surprised and then calmly ignored them. And with just a little instruction, they can actually manipulate these devices. People who have never been in contact with or even read books can learn how to use these high-tech skills with just a little instruction. Being smart alone is not enough to describe it. After experiencing so much, Lei Yundong naturally understands that these seemingly hopeless farmers actually have the most incredible future. After all, a piece of white paper is good for drawing. On the contrary, those in the city who are exposed to interstellar information are not so easy to train. They already have a preconceived relationship, just like a pre-made picture, it's not easy to modify. This is also why Linhezhuang had so many things and methods in his mind, and some places were easier to start, but he chose to do land transactions with the Liu family. Because the land and the tenant farmers who rely on it for a living are the most likely to produce a crowdsourcing effect for our own use. Linhezhuang's feelings flashed by in a flash. The old man trembled slightly and bowed to Linhezhuang, "Please forgive me for my disrespect." Then he took a few steps forward and squinted his eyes to carefully examine the signature and seal of Mr. Liu. After confirming everything was correct, he turned his head and shouted to the banker who was holding his breath, "Everyone, hurry up and pay respects to the master." The command was conveyed, and over 2,000 farmers knelt down one after another, even the ignorant children were kneeled down with their heads pressed down by the elders. Then, under the exhausted leadership of the old man, everyone shouted in unison, "Lord Linhe, pay respects to our master." More than 2,000 people suddenly knelt in front of them, and the other person would probably jump up in fear. But Linhezhuang was accustomed to such a scene and supported the old man with a sincere smile, shouting to everyone at the same time, "Father and fellow villagers, please rise up." Watching the obedient and respectful farmers standing with their hands tied, Linhezhuang was very satisfied with their obedience. As long as you listen, it will be much easier to train. Ladies and gentlemen, as my new owner, I have just taken over this Linhe village, so I won't make any changes for now. Just keep busy as usual. Now that everyone has dispersed, do whatever you want. If there's anything, I'll find someone, Linhezhuang waved his hand and said. As soon as these words were spoken, the villagers suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, and then, led by some old men, they bowed and dispersed one by one. Linhezhuang left behind the old man Zhuang and a dozen or so young men with strong and powerful figures. Liu was silently watching Linhezhuang act, his expression calm. He was convinced that Linhezhuang was not an ordinary person, so Linhezhuang's performance did not surprise him at all. Thinking about the information about Linhezhuang being investigated, I couldn't help but sneer. Do those idiots who eat dry food, ordinary citizens, have the ability to do so? Everything else can be pretended, but this kind of giving orders to thousands of people calmly and naturally cannot be pretended. I have never experienced it before. No matter how noble your identity is, facing the gaze of countless people, your legs will be weak. Steward Liu, I'll stay in this estate for a while longer. I know you're busy, so I won't delay your time, Linhezhuang smiled. Okay. By the way, Master Lei, there is a phone number in the village and there is also the number of the car rental company left. If you want to leave, just make a phone call directly, and there will be a discount on the fee given in cash, said Manager Liu with a smile. Then thank you for the reminder from Butler Liu. Linhezhuang was deeply moved and needed such a skilled butler. However, all butlers are confidants, and they need to be well-rounded and capable confidants to take on the role. This is something that newly established Linhezhuang doesn't need to think about. However, if you need it urgently, you can have a few housekeepers trained by wealthy families use it first. And this will have to wait for the opportunity. As the car took off and flew away, Linhezhuang looked at Zhuang Lao and the dozen or so big men who had been waiting for him. He smiled and said, "Grandpa, take me to visit our village first. I don't dare to be called that by the old master." "The old master should call me the Holdback 3, said Mr. Zhuang with some trepidation. "TSK, don't call me master. I'm only 16 years old," Linhezhuang felt a bit unhappy. Bao Lao San immediately changed his tone in fear and said, "Follow your orders, young master." Glancing at the dozen or so strong men, they immediately bowed their hands and shouted, "Young master." Linhezhuang was very satisfied and said, "Let's go and lead me on a tour of Zhuangzi." "Yes, young master, come with me." Holding back, Lao San immediately began to guide the way. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Inspection of the farm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Inspection of the farm. Under the leadership of Zhuang Lao San, Lei Yundong began to sway around the village. Of course, the box of Linhezhuang and documents in hand had already been placed in that stone tower. Walking around Zhuangzi, Bao Lao San also gave a detailed explanation of the surrounding situation. Although I know some data from the land deed, I don't see as much detail as I see before. The village is very large, and the registered residence is 250, but the number of houses must be more than one. But it's also normal. With a large population, those who have started their families and businesses have long been separated. After all, there are no restrictions in this era. As long as you can support yourself, you can work hard to make a living, and you can also freely find land to build houses. As long as you don't foolishly occupy the land of the good farmland, just report to the old man of the village, Lao San too, without going up to the level of reporting to the master's family. The master doesn't really care. All the people in Chuang Tzu's registered residence are linked to the land contract. No matter how many you multiply, they are all tenants of the master. The houses of the farmers are all mud brick and grass sheds, and the pots and pans used are extremely in line with the ancient agricultural civilization. Let me put it this way, all buildings built with steel and cement are owned by the owner. There is no shortage of oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar in the village. There is a grocery store in the village that specializes in selling these daily necessities. This grocery store belongs to the owner, and now it naturally belongs to Lei Yundong as well. Lei Yundong took a glance and saw that it was a huge department store. Except for devices that do not require electricity, there are all kinds of daily necessities such as pots, pans, ladles, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, paper towels, clothes and bedding, lighting fixtures and cooking oil, sickles and axes, hammers and nails, etc. So they don't seem to be people from the ancient agricultural era in terms of food, clothing, and daily necessities. After all, everyone is in the interstellar era of a unified empire. There is really a need, and there will be no shortage of basic necessities for life. The farmers are not without the intention of building better houses, but besides lacking money, they also lack building materials. There is no place to sell building materials around. City. It's too far away, even if I buy it, I can't transport it over. Besides, it doesn't cost much money. If you want to build a house similar to Fenggang City with a single door, don't even think about it. Moreover, there is no possibility for young children to attend formal schools. They can only accept Professor Zhuang's teachings in the lobby of that stone tower, at least they won't become illiterate. As for more advanced knowledge, as Mr. Zhuang's teacher, I don't even understand how to teach. After inquiry, Lei Yundong understood that this was the beginning of the establishment of Zhuangzi. The servants sent by the Lu family were in charge and only taught a few farmers in order to have helpers. Then those few farmers passed on this knowledge, which led to the widespread literacy of the entire population in Linhezhuang. Education is a big issue, but it is also a necessary condition for rooting. I reckon I'll be busy from now on. Lei Yundong put this matter aside for the time being and continued to follow the third patrol of Zhuangzi. After hearing the somewhat self-satisfied report from Bao Lao San, Lei Yundong finally found out. This village has over 15,000 acres of arable land. But it far exceeds the number registered in the archives. Obviously, the previous owner of the Lu family did not care about these fields and the information was not updated. In addition to arable land, there is a 10-meter wide and 20-kilometer long river outside the village. Half of the ownership belongs to Linhe village, and the other half is in the village across the river. Then there are several small mountain forests that add up to an area of at least 50.60000 acres and are several tens of meters high. Salaries, game, and fruits are all produced from these mountains. There is also approximately 30,000 to 40,000 acres of wasteland that wraps around the village. That is to say, the total land area under the name of this village has reached over 100,000 acres. Regarding this, Linhezhuang doesn't have much feeling of making a big profit. Because the land in the countryside, in the hearts of the local tyrants and evil gentry of this interstellar era, is really something that is not worth much. In the interstellar era, the local tyrants and evil gentry cared about the fertile land, which was the spiritual land in the household registration of these ignorant villages. Young master, this is your 1-acre spiritual field under your name, which is constantly guarded by the most skilled old farmer in the village who manages the farmland. Holding back Lao San led Linhezhuang to a prison-like building. A towering cement and steel reinforced wall, covered with wire mesh. The surrounding walls are fully enclosed, with no windows and only a tightly closed large iron door at the bottom. There are 2 strong guards carrying rifles at the entrance. This makes viewers feel a bit disorganized in time and space. In a scene reminiscent of ancient agricultural culture, metal rifles suddenly appeared, and these ancient people looked accustomed to it. Linhezhuang didn't pay attention to these things, and this kind of spatio-temporal disorder scene is almost everywhere. He just felt a little helpless about taking care of the good farmland so much. Because the fertile fields in this area are just black iron-grade food crops. However, the more remote a place is, the more it values this kind of fertile land. It is understandable that some particularly outdated places even have military camps set aside. Also, these fertile fields are not the spiritual fields that most people imagine. That is to say, these ignorant rural people will consider it good farmland. If it is really Linhezhuang, the Ministry of Revenue of the Daheng dynasty will directly send an army of soldiers as guards. The higher the level of Linhezhuang, the higher the strength of the dispatched guards, and the Linhezhuang's alarm system will directly connect to the local garrison. Even for Linhezhuang transactions, they can only be transferred with the permission of the Imperial Household Department. Where are these good fields? Although the output must be purchased by the government, the transfer of ownership only requires the local government to report it. Zhuangzi dispatched an armed guard to patrol 24 hours a day, and there will definitely be no problems. And there is an alarm at the entrance, directly connecting to the yamen and the master's side. Young master, you need to leave your communication number. The alarm system needs to change the connection number, said Bao Lao San with some embarrassment. Linhezhuang nodded, just looking at Bao Lao San gesturing for the guard to open the iron door. Linhezhuang did not see these 2 guards from the crowd of worshippers before, obviously they cannot leave their positions at will. But they opened the door without any doubt, either holding back the authority of Lao San more than they had imagined, or they had already been informed of their identity. However, it doesn't matter. As long as one's reputation as the head family is there, the 2,000 or so people in Linhe village will definitely be able to be trained by oneself. In this place that protects the fertile land, only Bao Lao San and Linhezhuang can enter. The more than 10 guards who followed along the way before can only stay outside. Inside, this is a space with an area of about 10 acres. A circle of houses was built against the wall, and it seems that all living facilities are complete. And they are all electrified facilities, obviously the technology here is no different from Fenggang City. Then a circle of iron frames and a layer of transparent film surrounded an acre of land in the center, revealing the growth of all black rice plants on the ground. There are 2 old farmer-like people carefully patrolling back and forth in the black rice. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The So-called Fertile Land. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The So-called Fertile Land. Linhezhuang just waved his hand to the 2 old farmers who were summoned by the suffocated old man 3 times to get up. Then squat down and insert your hand into the soil. If in my previous life, I could have known the situation of this moo of fertile land with just one thought, but now I have to feel it firsthand. Insert your finger into the soil to feel it, pull it out, and put the finger that was stuck in the soil into your mouth to lick it. Give it a smack and then gently stroke the black rice ear to feel it. Then Linhezhuang nodded and said, the vitality is strong. After 3 rounds of cultivation, you need to rest. Show me the formula for nourishing the soil then. 2 old farmers and 3 suffocated men were stunned by Lei Yundong's actions before. As soon as he heard this, one of the 2 old farmers turned around and ran towards the nearby house. Young master, do you understand these things? Stuttered Lao San. Originally, Lei Yundong didn't understand, but in his previous life, he once suffered a serious injury and disguised himself as a farmer to evade the pursuit of the eagle and dog by Daheng. In order to pretend, he naturally had to learn how to serve Linhezhuang. With his spiritual strength at that time, it was easy for him to learn the essence and innovate. If it weren't for his carelessness in upgrading the spiritual field and receiving praise from the superiors at that time, he won't be exposed either. He should be able to lurk for a while. It can be said that if a strong person becomes a farmer or other profession, the results they produce are definitely beyond imagination. But obviously, those with slightly more abilities will always be above the world. With only the authority to give orders, there will be no job to do. To be honest, Lei Yundong is a super strong independent traveler, and he is often a lone traveler without help. He has to learn everything due to his interests or helplessness. Can you imagine that Lei Yundong's goods will still be used for mineral smelting and machine manufacturing? And can you also repair interstellar spacecraft alone? Similarly, this is also why Lei Yundong was so confident after his rebirth. Similarly, after enduring the hardships of being a bachelor in his previous life, the first thing he does in this life is to gather people. Regarding the inquiry, Lei Yundong gave a reserved smile and said, "If you understand a little, you only know 1,000,000,000 points." At this moment, the old farmer who had run to the house had already come running over with a document. Breathing heavily but nervously, he handed the document to Lei Yundong and said, "Young master, this is a recipe for nourishing the fields that I have discussed with a few old colleagues in the village. Can you show it to me?" Lei Yundong felt a bit helpless. Didn't he say that he could only consider nourishing the field after 3 rounds of cultivation? However, he also took it and flipped through it, then said directly, "Your recipe takes into account the restoration of vitality in the land, which is quite careful, but still lacks some." Lei Yundong instinctively paused and almost revealed the recipe that could upgrade Linhezhuang. If you really want to upgrade your good farmland to a spiritual farmland and directly deploy troops here, how can you cause trouble? These ideas flashed through my mind quickly, so I naturally changed my mind and replaced this formula with a few potions to ensure that this fertile field will have strong vitality in the future. Don't upgrade. For him who can upgrade from a good field to a spiritual field, mastering the formula for nourishing the land is completely childish. But for the old farmer who has been serving the fertile fields for almost his whole life, it feels like seeing heaven and earth. So when Lei Yundong walked out of the iron gate, the guards outside were surprised to find out. Zhuang and those 2 elders showed complete sincerity towards the head of the family. Lei Yundong didn't expect that just showing off his knowledge would earn the loyalty and sincerity of these old guys. He is happy to see this. After all, the new owner's own reputation within the village cannot be compared to these old men. It's always a good thing to make their hearts sharp and sincere. I went to see 10 acres of fertile land. The remaining 9 acres of fertile land are surrounded by high walls, just like the first acre of fertile land. Well, to clarify, Linhezhuang and Linhezhuang rarely appear in large areas. All of them appear like one piece of land, a few pieces of land, 1 acre, a few acres. And they are all part east and part west. This also made the government and gentry accustomed to formulating separate land deeds for these separate good and spiritual fields. After some unknown considerations, everyone habitually calculates based on a complete acre. That is to say, on the eastern boundary of Lei Yun, there are not 10 prison-like walls, but 20.3, because there are many good fields that are just a part of the land. Seeing that small piece of fertile land, Lei Yundong had an impulse to expand it to 1 acre. Well, he has the ability to expand the area of good farmland. But this idea was dispelled just by thinking about it, because he dared to guarantee that all the good farmland under his name would be turned into 1 acre, and not only would the local tyrants and evil gentry flock to the area, but also the imperial court would directly send the imperial censor. Being stared at like this is something that cannot be done. Only when one has a firm and complete control over a planet and can block messages can one do this. Why does expanding the area of good farmland cause a lot of trouble? Because the black iron rice produced in Liangtian can enhance the integration of the human body and the universe. Simply put, it can lead to better cultivation. In the long run, the benefits of these grains are even better than practicing with the Hengliang. And there won't be any sequelae. This is also the reason why the Daheng dynasty wanted to purchase and produce good fields, and sent troops to guard the spiritual fields. No one is a fool, especially the great eternal empire, which ruled the world for over 3,500 years. What they all care about is definitely something particularly precious. After inspecting Zhuangzi, Lei Yundong returned to the stone tower. This massive stone building, as Lei Yundong had imagined, was indeed the ancestral hall and resting place of Zhuangzi. There is a conference hall, a kitchen, a arsenal, housing, bathrooms, and other facilities. The technology level is matched with Fenggang City, and various electrical appliances and telephones are available. This phone is still a digital phone. As for electricity, it relies on an oil-powered generator behind the house. Electricity can only be supplied to this stone building, which the farmers cannot enjoy. So those who can serve in this stone tower are the envy of the farmers. The guards who followed along naturally entered a state of patrol and guard. At the same time, more than 10 young and beautiful girls, led by several charming young women, came to pay their respects. These can be said to be the maids and housekeepers who will serve Lei Yundong in the future. Lei Yundong's heart was not focused on this. He just casually waved his hand to let them continue their routine, and began flipping through various archives. I don't know if I've been taught the rules or something for a long time, but the maids quietly stepped down. Then the hot tea and dim sum were quietly delivered. And there are also 2 maids waiting outside of sight. Standing position belongs to the kind that has been learned. If you don't care, you can't see them, but when you turn your gaze, you can immediately spot them. Lei Yundong can read information very quickly, just a glance of his eyes is enough. This is the powerful effect of spiritual power. Although it is not possible to interfere with reality with strong spiritual power, even mental pressure is difficult to exert. But the effects only on one's own memory, thinking ability, reasoning and logical ability, etc., are also far beyond those of ordinary strong individuals. Quickly, Lei Yundong remembered the information about Linhe village and casually picked up a teacup, pondering his future actions while sipping tea. His gaze unconsciously swept over the calendar on his desk, and when he saw the date, a memory suddenly flashed through his mind. He immediately stood up and exclaimed, "Oh no, I almost forgot." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Calling a Taxi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Calling a taxi. Firstly, he raised his hand to stop the 2 maids who wanted to move forward. Lei Yundong picked up his digital phone and directly dialed the number of the taxi rental company he had previously read and recorded. "Hello, this is Sanbaxing Flying Car Rental Company. May I help you?" A sweet voice came from the other end of the phone. "Can you locate my number on your end?" Lei Yundong asked. "Sure, but it requires your authorization and will be recorded and archived." "My name is Lei Yundong, and I authorize Sanbaxing Flying Car Rental Company to obtain my current communication number location," said Lei Yundong, who was familiar with the situation. The waiter, who was originally planning to give advice, paused for a moment before sweetly saying, "Your location has been confirmed. It's Linhe Village, Lujia Town, Fenggang Suburban District. Is the location correct?" "Correct, send a car over." "Okay, but since our high-speed train departs from the county town, it will exceed the starting price by 1 yellow coin when we arrive at your location. Do you agree?" "Agree, quickly send a car to pick me up." "Okay, customer, you'll need to wait about 30 minutes. At this moment, Linhezhuang frowned. However, I also remember that it's not like 300 years later, when the current top speed of a flying car inside the planet is only 10,000 kilometers per hour. And the distance from the county town to this side is at least 5,000 miles, and it takes only 30 minutes to reach it, which is already the highest speed on the way. Then he stood up and took out several piles of Linhezhuang from the safe behind him, finding a small package to pack. This safe comes with this stone building and contains the land deeds and the box of Linhezhuang. Putting these things in this place is much safer than taking them back to the doghouse in Fenggang City. Since there are still 30 minutes left, Linhezhuang is not eager, and he drinks tea and eats dim sum slowly. My mind began to reflect on my empty-handed use of white wolves. In fact, the connections that Linhezhuang mentioned to the Liu family are the ones that the Liu family will establish themselves in the coming years. As for how did the matter spread? That was in the next few decades, when the prefect was in great sorrow and his home was raided by the colored guards. All those related to him were investigated one by one. The Liu family expressed that they only had normal contact with the government and Taiwan, rather than being affiliated with their legitimate lineage. I explained in detail how to find a way out, how to explore the line between the chef and his aunt, and how to establish a relationship with the government by blowing a pillow and blowing a breeze. Normally, this matter is taken for granted and will not be exposed. Then it seems that some Sanbao Star media person related to the colored guards, in order to increase newspaper sales and also be a local story, published this as an interesting story. Normally, at that time, it was impossible for Linhezhuang, who had already left his home star and was wandering in the interstellar space, to notice these things. But who made this happen on the parent planet? Outsiders tend to care more or less about their hometown, so they are known and remembered by Linhezhuang. It can be said that Linhezhuang used the path he had worked hard to forge and sold it back to others. By being proactive in future information, we can reap great benefits. And it's not like this once that the Liu family's empty-handed white wolf trap has happened. However, it's also impossible. In future information, the current target that can be targeted is the Liu family, so we naturally have to seize this sheep of the Liu family and fight for it. Linhezhuang, who was very satisfied with his actions, secretly encouraged himself, Liu family, hurry up and take action. I really wish you could move to the ancestral capital. Ah, no, I have to slow down a bit. I have to earn a large amount of Linhezhuang, enough to buy all the assets of your 3 treasure stars, before you can move to the Zhongfu city. Otherwise, if I don't have enough money, wouldn't I be making wedding dresses for others? Linhezhuang also understood that the Liu family's wool could not be harvested yet, so they had to wait for a while. Although there are now over 2,000 farmers who have established a foundation for gathering people, they still have to do many things in advance. Apart from anything else, these 1,000 taels of Linhezhuang are not enough. At about the same time, Linhezhuang came to the outside of the stone tower and said to Bao Lao San, who was approaching attentively, I have something to do to keep busy. Zhuangzi's affairs will be handled according to tradition for the time being. It's young master, but young master, you need to leave a contact number. Bao Lao San was a bit anxious. I'll call you back and let you know, Linhezhuang could only say, who made him not have a phone yet. Go explore, why not just say the number now? Do we have to wait for a while? Does it seem like you can handle it? Old man Jing, holding back Lao San naturally wouldn't make this mistake, so he nodded and obeyed. Time has come, and a black shadow flies rapidly from the sky. In the blink of an eye, a floating flying car hovers over the stone tower. Alternatively, after determining the direction and seeing Linhezhuang and others in front of the stone tower, they quickly lowered their bodies and landed accurately in front of Linhezhuang. The car door opened and a middle-aged man in driver's clothing quickly got off the car, looking respectfully at the crowd and saying, I don't know who the customer is calling for the car. It's me. Linhezhuang stepped forward and handed over a pair of taels. Dear valued guest, welcome to take the 3 treasure star taxi. The driver immediately took the coin and kindly guided Linhezhuang onto the bus. "This is your change." After getting on the car, the driver's first thing was to give 4 red coins with square holes and 4 coins of the same style but in yellow. This is the Daheng coin of the Daheng dynasty, which does not contain any special energy, but is made by mixing several special metals. 1 hengliang is equal to 5 red coins, 1 red coin is equal to 5 yellow coins, and then 1 yellow coin is equal to 10 green coins. That is to say, 1 dahengliang is equivalent to 250 green coins. A green coin exchanged for the currency of Fenggang City is about 40 yuan. Simply put, the cost of rushing over 5,000 kilometers is only 400 yuan, which is considered cheap. It can be said that people with a little money can afford this floating taxi. But I'm sorry, these high-tech products coming out of the county town will only receive Daheng coins, and we will definitely not accept the currency printed by the local gentry alliance below. Isn't it true that according to the royal law, the gentry alliance cannot stop the people from exchanging regional currencies for Daheng coins? Can we just exchange it for 2 taels of Daheng money when it's time? Just listen to this. On the face of it, everyone naturally will not violate the provisions of the royal law. But you need to find a bank that is willing to perform currency exchange business. Ordinary people go to the bank to exchange, and they will reply, "Sorry, this bank does not have this service. Please go to a dedicated exchange to exchange." As for where this exchange is located specifically, "Sorry, this is not a bank business. Please go to the yamen to inquire." And the yamen that can provide the answer is located in the county town, not a public office formed by the gentry alliance itself. There's no way, ordinary people don't know where this exchange is located. In addition, the various consumption of food, drink, and entertainment for ordinary people can be satisfied locally through local currency. So actually, not many people go to exchange for Daheng coins. To put it simply, the exchange rate between Dahengian and local currency is only an official regulation. If you really want to exchange, the price may be very high. However, it doesn't matter to Linhezhuang. He uses only Daheng coins directly. After 300 years of wandering around, he has become accustomed to it. He doesn't care about the local currency. End of this chapter.